Hey, how you doing today? My name is Riley, and thank you so much for stopping by. Today, I wanted to jump in and show you 6 different webcams and show you which one is the best, especially if you are a YouTuber, a live streamer, a gamer, content creator of any sort. Which one is best for you? They come in at all kinds of different price ranges, and you kind of don't really know what you're going to get unless you're really comparing them side by side. Just looking at one camera, any one of these cameras looks pretty dang good. But when you put them side by side, you might be able to tell some of the little differences. And right now, all the lighting that I have on here is super bright. I've got a key light, I've got a soft light box, I've got lights up above. And so that might not be what you have. So what we're going to do is compare these cameras in a couple of different settings, how they deal with low light, how they deal with the field of view when they're all the way wide, and then also how they do with like just motion and latency and responsiveness. You might already be able to tell one of them is a little bit later than the other. Before we continue on, there's 2 things I want to do. First off, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by OBSBOT, and 3 of the cameras we're going to be taking a look at are from OBSBOT. So take what I say with a grain of salt, but I'm going to try to avoid my opinion as much as possible and just show you how these cameras perform in all of these different settings and let you decide which camera you think is best. And next up, what I want to do is go ahead and introduce each of these cameras so you know what it is you're actually looking at. So we've got the Logitech C920, a camera that's been around forever, but it's cheap and it gets the job done. Then we've got the EMEET SE. This is probably one of the better cameras that I think you're going to get for the price. Then we've got the OBSBOT Tiny SE, very similar to the EMEET SE, but it's got a little gimbal, so it can move around with you a heck of a lot more. I think that this might be better if you're getting up and moving around. If you're just doing like gaming and sitting in one spot, it might be a little bit overkill. After that, we've got the EMEET C960, another great contender for a webcam. Next, we've got the OBSBOT Meet 2. This one is the only 4K camera, so it is the highest end camera that we have. It does cost a little bit more, but it's going to make your videos look way better. Even if you're only going to be recording at 1080p, having that 4K camera allows you to zoom in on your camera a lot more if that's something that you want to do, and it's just going to look a lot better. Last but not least, we've got the Elgato Facecam, and so this is the standard version, the HD version, and not the Mark II or the 4K version of their webcam. This is still really good, and it's one of those things where Elgato's got a lot of name recognition behind it. They charge more money for their webcams, but they also do have really good quality for it as well. So let's go ahead and start comparing all these cameras and seeing how they look. First, let's take a look at all of the cameras at full screen, just so that way you can get an idea of the field of view. This right here is the OBSBOT Meet SE. This is a great camera. You can see it's got a pretty decent field of view with the lighting. I think it looks great. Let's see if we get some moving around. The artifacting's not crazy bad or anything like that. And lastly, just a quick look at the autofocus. Is it? It really just wants to focus on my face. It does not want to focus on my hand even a little bit. It's just like, get that hand out of here. It keeps my face in focus the whole time. Look at that. Woo! It's like a game. And the Meet SE, the price is going for $69. If I can, I'll see if I can't get a discount link down in the description below. We'll see on that one. Next up, we got the EMEET C960, and as you can see, the field of view is a little wider. You can see the edges of my studio area, the parts that you're not supposed to see. Well, now you can see them. You get a little behind the scenes sneak peek on there. And so, again, artifacting. Ooh, look at how bright that is right there. Was it that bright with the other camera? No, it was not. It's interesting. Also with the Meet SE, it does have this auto framing thing where if you move around, the camera will actually like move around with you. Let's see. So the EMEET, I always like to see like, okay, well, how does it do with movement and then also with autofocus? Oh, it does not. That also doesn't want to focus too much. Will this one focus on my face if I get closer? I don't know. Is that autofocus? It's a very specific test. Very important that we get the autofocus test. The EMEET C960 webcam usually retails for $38.99. So I believe that this is actually the cheapest camera on this list, but is it the best for the price? I'm gonna leave it for you to decide on your own. We're gonna go ahead and put these cameras side by side at low light next, and also we're gonna check some other things. So let's see. Next up, let's look at the C920. Logitech C920. This is like the basic staple of webcams. This has been around forever. Logitech is a big name brand, and they have they've got these webcams everywhere. I mean, I don't know how anybody ever didn't have these webcams. I mean, they must have been just giving them out like candy or something. I think what happened is Logitech just made a very solid camera at an affordable price, and it was just available. Anybody could get it very easily. As you can see, the field of view isn't nearly as wide, at least not as wide as the EMEET. The quality on it is definitely a little bit less, but also the price on this thing is going to be less as well. The Logitech C920 retails for $66.99, but is this going to be the best bang for your buck? I don't know. Let's go ahead and check out a couple more tests. Here we have the OBSBOT Tiny SE, and this is the one with the gimbal on it, which is kind of cool. So if you do a whole lot of moving around, if you want to get up, it can actually have tracking. So the camera will actually follow you around the room if that's something that you're interested in. And then also with the OBSBOT Center for all of the OBSBOT cameras, there's all kinds of like different controls if you want to like zoom in and out, or have the camera like I can physically control where this camera is like looking and moving around. Let's get myself reset. There we go. And yeah, there's some extra little things that you can do. I'm trying not to talk so much about the software, but that is something to keep in mind, that it is an extra that you get when we're comparing these cameras. I'm mostly focused on how good do these cameras look when we put them side by side. I feel like that's the most important thing if you're going to pick up one camera versus another. So as you can see, field of view is pretty much roughly in line with the other cameras, to include the OBSBOT Meet SE as well as the Logitech C920. The camera looks great, if I do say so myself. Those reds be popping back there. And ooh, it's starting to do a little bit of that tracking I was talking about there just a second ago. And that's something that you can turn on and off in the settings too. So again, this one is the OBSBOT Tiny SE, and this one retails for $99. This one is very, very similar to the Meet SE in that it's like the very similar innards of it, and as far as how well it's going to do on the low light test, I expect those to be very, very similar. But what you're paying for, the difference in price of almost $30, is mainly that gimbal. That's the biggest piece that you're paying for the difference in these. Next up, we've got the Elgato Facecam, the HD version of the Facecam. Again, the width, the field of view, not bad. Camera also looking good. The red's not popping as much as the last camera. Take for that what you will, but overall, I think it does look really, really good. I mean, if you're going to be doing a green screen with all of these, some of that probably might not matter as much, but as long as you yourself are looking good, that's going to be what matters the most. But if you got a ton of things in the background, you got a lot of color, lots of pops of different things, reds and blues and whatever, you might want something that is like really going to make all those little pieces stand out. Overall, I think it looks like a really good camera. The Elgato Facecam is retailing for $87.52 right now. So there you go. Not quite as cheap as the Meet SE, but I think that it is going to do pretty good in the low light test. I'm curious to see how it does and how it compares. Last but not least, we've got the OBSBOT Meet 2. This is our 4K camera, and I think you can tell the difference. I think that this looks crystal clear in comparison to all of the different cameras. It blows the other ones out of the way, but also you are going to be paying for it. Is it that much more? Absolutely not. The OBSBOT Meet 2 is only going for $129. So going from that almost 90 to 129, it looks like the jump of each of the different cameras is roughly $30, at least from the Meet SE going to both the Facecam, Elgato Facecam, and the OBSBOT Tiny SE. That's a $30 jump, and then another $30 jump to get up to that 4K webcam, and it looks good. I think that's what you'd expect out of a nice webcam. And you know what? If you want something that looks real good, it's right there. It's not that much more to be able to get something that is that pops. Just saying. So what I want to do next is I want to show off these cameras in a low light condition, but we're going to put them actually like side by side. Right here, here's all the cameras side by side in good lighting. So again, get an idea of which one you think looks best as long as you've got all of the lighting. Again, I've got a nice key light, big soft light box, lights up above. Let me turn most of these off and we'll see how they do. Low light mode activated, and as you can see, some of these cameras are doing better than others. The Logitech C920, it makes me look like I'm a prisoner and I need help. So as you can see, if you have really good lighting, all of the cameras looked pretty good, right? But now that there is low lighting, you can see some of them are not quite as good. Starting up at the top left, we got the EMEET SE. I'm gonna say that's not too terribly bad. And then after that, what is in the top center? That is the Tiny SE. So those two have both the same sensor when it comes to the low lighting, so they do look very similar. And then what is the one over on the top right? I believe that is the EMEET 2. It looks a little bit darker, but I think that the colors are a little bit more balanced for it as well. The Elgato Facecam over on the bottom right, it looks almost like it's got extra, almost like it's a little bit yellowy, but it almost looks like it's yellowy from the lighting that's coming in. Like it's not terrible. I kind of dig it. Like if you had no lighting, that's not bad. I feel like the EMEET 2 kind of gives a sense of, okay, it's low lighting, but you can still see everything that's going on. You're not losing out on like some of the details in the back if you're comparing all of the different cameras. Let's see, the bottom center, that is the EMEET C960. Again, they all have kind of their own strengths and weaknesses. Like they are all trying to make up for the low light in different ways, right? Except for the one that makes you look like you're in prison. That one's just rough. So next up, we're going to do a very scientific test checking for artifacting. I'm just going to kind of shake around a little bit, and you can kind of see how my hands are doing. Which cameras can keep up with it and which ones can't. Help! Try and move a little bit faster. All right, there you go. So that's artifacting in movement in low light, because there's always gonna be some movement around. Even if you're just gaming, even if you're just sitting in a chair, even if you're just like talking, you're probably having some sort of movement. The other thing that's just throwing me for a loop right now is how much lag the C920 has. It's just so behind everything. It's like if I was to go do the wave, it's just like completely behind all of the other cameras. All of the cameras have roughly the same latency, give or take, except for the C920. They're all roughly the same speed, which is good. So the last set of lighting, it was string lights that were above me, and now I've got kind of a harsher just one key light on my face, and so I'm just kind of seeing which ones does better with that one light. I'd say that at least in this lighting, the EMEET C960, with the white shirt, I look completely blown out, and it's too bright, and it's not able to handle all this that's going on. It's just too sharp. It's not able to deal with the bright light and then the low light that's in the background, so it's just making me, yeah, blown out. That's the only word I can think of for it. All the other cameras are doing all right though. So now it's time for opinions. I've shown you all the different cameras. You can take my opinion with that grain of salt, because now you've seen all the cameras side by side in a bunch of different things. So I'll let you know what I think. And so first off, the Logitech C920, as good as it was back in the day, I think that it doesn't hold up with today's standards of what a webcam should be, and especially for the price. If you're going to be paying roughly $66 for a camera, if you had the choice between that and the OBSBOT Meet SE, it's the OBSBOT Meet SE all day, right? It's just the quality isn't there, especially if you're going to have something like bright lighting at one side if you're working in an office environment, or you've got dim lighting because you're a gamer and you're kind of you're gaming in a dungeon. You know, I know how you are. I know how you gamers are. It's dark in there and you get lost. It's okay. It's fine. Logitech C920 just might not be for you. So next, we've got the EMEET C960, a great camera, and especially for the price, I mean, it is so cheap, going at only just under $40. It held up not too terribly bad, although the low light is where it started to kind of lose its shine. But if you want something that looks really good, instead of going for that $40, you bump it up another $20. Now you're at the OBSBOT Meet SE. You're looking at a pretty good camera. I really do like the OBSBOT Meet SE. I'd say the one thing with it is that sometimes you might have seen the camera like zooming in and out and kind of doing its thing. Sometimes the software can be a little bit finicky with that one. All of the other ones, as far as the OBSBOT Tiny SE and the OBSBOT Meet 2, I haven't had those issues with it, like trying to zoom and trying to focus in nearly as much. But I also know that they're working on the firmware as time goes on. So that leads me to the next camera, which is the Elgato Facecam. And so that one's jumping up in price to almost $90 at the $87.52. Another really, really good camera. It performed better in the low light than I originally thought. Looks like it's adding in light to the camera. It feels like it's a little bit artificial, but it doesn't look terrible. You know what I mean? Like it holds up. I'm not sure how much more I like that versus the Meet SE when it comes to the low light, but I think that they're just kind of different, right? It's going to be based on your situation and your setup. Does a low light even make sense? Does it even play a difference for you or not? I don't know. I think that they both look really, really good. Is it a $30 difference in good? The $70 Meet SE versus a $90 Facecam? That's up to you. And then last but not least, you've got the OBSBOT Meet SE. By far the best camera, and as well it should be, because it costs almost twice as much as the OBSBOT Meet SE, but it's 4K and it looks buttery smooth. It looked the best at the low light. It looked the best just regular. Like even if it's gonna be like a smaller, like cropped in, something like this, it just looks good, and I like that. But it all depends on your budget, right? If you've only got $40, then hey, you've only got $40 and you're gonna have to go with something like the EMEET C960. But each individual camera, I think you're kind of getting what you're paying for. As you start paying just a little bit more for each of these cameras, you're starting to get a little bit more in the way of bells and whistles. They start to look a little bit better, and they start to do better with those low light conditions. The only one that I think is kind of a little bit more of a, do you really need it? I personally think that the Tiny SE, having that gimbal feature, I think that's cool if you're the type of person who's going to get up, move over to a whiteboard, because you can have that one make it so that way as you get up, it'll track you and follow you over to that whiteboard. And then let's say you get over to the whiteboard, you can have it so it like locks in place and it follows you to that spot, and then it knows, okay, you're in that area, just look at that area. There's kind of cool little bells and whistles in some of the software that we didn't really deep dive into, but they're there. Just saying, the OBSBOT's got some really, really cool software, being able to control like the zooms and some of the different aspects of the camera and how it looks. All of that to say, we checked out a lot of really good cameras here, various different price ranges. I'm gonna be partial to the OBSBOT, and also because the video is sponsored by OBSBOT, so I mean, what do you want? What do you want? Take it with a grain of salt. But I think I showed you that there's a reason why the OBSBOT cameras are winning. They just look so good. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Am I just being a complete shill, or did the OBSBOT cameras actually look pretty dang good? What did you think? Thank you so much for stopping by. Let me know which camera you're thinking about getting. I'll leave links down in the description below, and if there's any sort of discount code, I'll be sure to leave it there as well. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. My name's Relia, and I'll talk to you again more real soon. Thanks.